Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day is for you guys. I hope you guys are all doing well. Hey, I want to start off by saying one of the biggest leadership lessons I've ever learned didn't happen because I gave an order. It happened because I stopped giving orders long enough to actually listen and hear what people are saying. During my time in the Marine Corps, I spent many, many years in leadership positions. And like lot of young leaders, I especially thought leadership came from rank. You get promoted, you get more responsibility, people are expected to listen to you. That technically, it's true. That's just how it was. But eventually I learned that there's a huge difference between having someone follow you because they have to and having someone follow you because they trust you. I remember realizing that in the Marines, I led didn't respond to me because of my rank or anything that was on my color. They responded when they saw that I was willing to listen to them, willing to be beside them, work beside them, and hold myself to the same standards that I held them to. That changed the way I looked at leadership. Now, most of you may not have ever served in the military or managed a large group of employees, but every person in this room will lead someone. You might lead your children as a parent. You might lead your, team as a supervisor at work. You might coach a team, help a classmate, or simply be the person that your friends turn to when something goes wrong. Leadership happens every single day, sometimes without us even realizing it. The way we treat people can influence how they see themselves and how we see them, or eventually how they treat other people. Now, my name is Antonio Hogue. I've spent years in leadership positions leading through experience. I had 8 years in the Marine Corps. I had an opportunity to train, mentor, and lead Marines in an environment where communication, accountability, and trust heavily mattered. Now, after leaving the military, I also became a team leader in the civilian workforce at Walmart. That gave me an entirely different perspective. I couldn't rely on military rank or structure anymore. I had to discover that leadership came from the principles that I learned and the ones that worked best, the ones that hadn't changed. People still wanted to know, do you respect me? Should I respect you? People still wanted to know, will you listen to me? People still wanted to know, are you willing to do the same work that you're asking me to do? Those experiences taught me that leadership has much less to do with authority and way more to do with the respect you're able to earn. So, I want you to stop measuring leadership by by somebody's title, and start measuring it by the trust they build, by the trust you build, the example they set, the example you set, and the respect they earn, the respect you earn. First, I'll explain what I believe real leadership actually looks like. And then I'll share my experiences and my understandings of leadership. Finally, I'll explain why every single one of us has the opportunity to lead through respect. All right. So, for the first thing that I'm going to try to persuade is leadership is about influence, not authority. There's an important difference between being in charge and being a leader. Authority can make somebody listen to you. Leadership makes someone wants to listen to you. You guys have always heard that say, hey, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. It kind of goes hand in hand with that. Respect creates trust. Chances are you didn't respect a certain person or whatever the case may be because of their title. You respected something about the way that they treated you, the way that they heard you, the way that they made you feel as a human being. People communicate better when they trust the people leading them. They're willing to admit mistakes, work from them, ask questions, offer ideas, do all these other things that just make them a better individual because of the way that they have that leadership above them. When their leader actually cares about what they're doing, that's why respect can't simply just be demanded. You can't demand compliance. You can demand that somebody complete a task, but you can't order somebody to genuinely respect you for who you are and what you stand for and what you do. You have to show that. It has to be earned, like I was just saying, consistency, honesty, fairness, so many other leadership traits and principles that you can go by. But, one of the most important things that you can do is lead by example to inspire others. Another major part of earning the respect by willing to live by the standards that you expect of other people. Nobody likes hypocrisy. Nobody loves hypocrites. I've always believed that asking someone to do something difficult, I should be willing to do it myself, or you should have done it prior so you understand the task. If my team is struggling, I'm not too important to jump in and help. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm not too good for this task. You're not too good for the task. If something is difficult, you have to be able to willing to do it. and admit it. If you expect accountability from other people, you have to hold yourself accountable. A lot of times when people get into management or leadership positions, for some reason that just goes out the window. They think they're higher than the others. No, whether you're brand new or whether you have some longevity, it's important that everybody holds themselves accountable. People pay attention to what leaders do far more than what leaders say. Um, Actions speak louder than words. Everybody has heard that adage. Now, understanding that the idea is one thing, learning through experience is another, and my own experiences forced me to become a better leader. Whether it was utilizing things I didn't want to utilize or utilizing things that I wanted to emulate. Um, Respect is earned every single day. That's kind of the point too. It kind of segues into that. With that military leadership, it helps you understand that it's consistency. It's earned every day. When you're young in the military, you begin getting promoted. It's easy to associate that rank with leadership, but that's not what it was. That doesn't automatically make people need to respect you. Throughout my military careers, I saw plenty of different kind of leaders, like I was just talking about before. Their attitude was basically, you're going to do this because I told you to, and then I also had some people like, hey, you're going to do this because this is why, and this is what we're trying to get done. But there was, there was also leaders that listened. They knew their Marines, they knew their team, they knew how to stay humble, they knew they were willing to get dirty and be with and like everybody else. And honestly, that's all you can ask. Even if it's just one or two times, those one or two times are going to be things that those Marines and followers remember throughout their career, things that they want you to emulate. All of a sudden you're held to this higher standard, which you should be. You should be held to that higher standard. You should be willing to live to that higher standard. At that point, there's going to be people who don't want to disappoint you, who want to make sure that they make a major difference to you. Because how many times have we been to a crappy job, but we have a good boss or leader, and it's not so bad, or we have a good job and we go to a crappy leader, and now all of a sudden our whole entire day is ruined. When I transitioned in civilian leadership, there was no military ranks. There was nobody calling me staff sergeant anymore. I couldn't expect military discipline using knife hands and all that good stuff to motivate somebody. Instead, I had to utilize those core foundational traits of leadership of what I believe to be successful. I had to build those relationships with trust and honesty and repetition, all the small things. Communicate clearly. I didn't embarrass someone just because they made a mistake. You got to give credit when somebody's doing something right too. All these things tie into, you can take all these lessons that may be more amplified in the military and transition it into being a good leader just by genuinely caring and genuinely being a good person. When the workload is too difficult, don't just stand there or say, I got to do stuff in my office. Get yourself involved too. So those experiences change the way I lead. Because this lesson isn't only useful for military, Marine supervisor, manager, it applies to everybody who's listening in right now. So everyone has an opportunity to become a better leader. When we hear the word leader, we usually imagine standing in front of a group of people, but leadership isn't always that. You don't always have to be standing in front of a group of people. Parents parents lead their children. Older siblings lead their younger siblings, believe it or not, whether the younger sibling wants to believe it. Friends influence friends, students influence classmates, employees can influence their coworkers without ever becoming supervisors. Sometimes leadership is simply being the person willing to do the right thing first. You don't need permission to set an example. You just have to take that initiative. You don't need a promotion to encourage somebody. A lot of times people think once you get promoted, that's what you're going to do now. No, you're promoted based off the capability that you show. You don't need to a title to treat someone with respect. Um, Respect is such a key word because respect has such a lasting impact. The way that you lead can affect someone much longer than you realize. A leader who constantly humiliates people or makes fun of them or harsh will get short-term results, but eventually people stop communicating, stop taking that initiative and doing only the minimum that they feel is necessary. A leader who creates trust can have that opposite effect. People who become more confident, they're willing to take responsibility, they're more comfortable asking for help, and eventually they may start treating others the same way. That's how it spreads. They say negativity is contagious, but it's the same way with positivity. Positivity can be contagious as well. That same way that you treat others are going to be how other people treat other people. So here's my challenge to you. The next time someone looks for you, or in your direction, listen before you speak. When someone asks you to do something difficult, even though it may not be your job, ask yourself whether you would be willing to do it, whether they would be willing to do it. And instead of asking, how do I get these people to listen to me? Because that's what we all think, you got to ask yourself, what am I doing that makes people want to follow me? So in conclusion, today I explained why leadership is about the influence rather than authority. I shared how my military and civilian leadership had changed my understanding of what it means to lead. And I also explained why every single one of us here has opportunities to influence the people around us. Every single one of us here can be a leader. True leadership is not measured by the title you hold. It's measured by the trust and respect and the example you build and set. Respect, trust, and authority past title. So the next time you find yourself leading somebody, whether it's an employee, teammate, friend, classmate, child, it doesn't matter. Don't rely on your position of authority. Don't rely on your title. Listen to them. Set the example. Be the leader that you wanted. Treat them with respect. Excuse me. And become someone that they choose to follow instead of someone that they simply have to obey. As for me and myself, Antonio Hogue, I know I'm still learning. I've made mistakes now. I've made mistakes as a leader in the past, and I'm sure I'll make more. But whether I'm leading employees, helping someone around me, or raising my children, I want to continue being the kind of leader who listens first, leads from the front, and earns respect through what I would rather do and what I would rather expect, but not because of the position I hold. I started off by telling you one of my greatest leadership lessons happened when I stopped giving orders and started listening. What I eventually realized was was expeditiously simple. People might forget what your title was. People might forget even what you look like. They might forget your rank. They might forget some of the things you said. But one thing I can guarantee you is that they will always remember whether you respected them or not. And they'll remember whether you were beside them when things got difficult. So if you want to become a great leader, don't chase authority. Please, please do not chase authority. It's not just about job titles. I implore you and I challenge you, if you really want to invoke in leadership, be someone worth following. My name is Antonio Hogue. Thank you for attending my TED Talk.